Okay. Welcome to Graveyard Shift Burnout. Um, my name is Alexis, as I say to literally my one viewer who is myself monitoring my stream. Me, myself, and I. Um, this is going to be the final episode of Burnout. Um, Graveyard Shift will probably continue. That's the name of my Magnus Archives game, at least for now. That may change. We'll see. I'm not sure. But for now, that is what the name of the game is. And Burnout is the name of this first chapter. I do not know how this is going to end up. When we last left off, Milton was in trouble, which I feel like I've been saying kind of this whole season. And it is horror, and so, he should be in trouble. Um, but I think I want to start this session by going back to the very beginning and reading the statement that started this whole thing. Seth found this statement that was taken and put up on the internet, on conspiracy theory forums, and that's how he got involved in all of this. And as we get kind of towards the end here, I think it would be good to go back and remember what brought us to this point. I will say that I've been running this with a carved in brindlewood sort of idea, and I don't think all of the statement, all of the I'm not sure everything in the statement that I'm about to read reflects how the game has actually gone. I'm specifically a little bit frustrated with the ambulance. I feel like it's kind of hanging off the end of this adventure without wrapping back up into it. And I'm not sure what to do about that. Maybe we'll find an opportunity to weave that all together today. And if we don't, then we don't. One of the things that Carved in Brindlewood games say is that, and public access specifically says that as long as there's creepy things happening, it doesn't all have to have a perfect answer at the end. So we're going to go through. This statement is about a 9-minute statement or so. It is 4 pages, and it is... How many words is it? It is 1,000 words. In the future, I will probably keep them to about 500 words, but this is where we're at for now. Statement taken, March 12th, 2025. Subject, Seth Hounds, EMT. Statement begins. I love driving ambulances. The roar of the siren, the feel of having someone's life in your hands. Drive fast enough and you might save them. Go too slow and, death always rides in the back. I didn't know how literal that would become when we were called out to 91 Sycamore Drive on a routine call. Help me! I think my husband is having a heart attack. So Ren and I piled into the ambulance, siren wailing through the night. It was 2 a.m, no traffic. I floored it, blasting through town. Heart attacks can happen fast, but I knew I would be faster. We made it in 6 minutes, damn near record time. When we arrived, Mr. Peterson was in the kitchen, clutching his left arm. A guttural groan forced its way up his throat. It's burning! It's burning! Ren sprang into action. It's okay, Mr. Peterson. We're here to help. Can you get out to the ambulance, or do we need a stretcher? It hurts. It hurts too much. I can't move. Can't breathe. We're getting you a stretcher, Wren called. But I interjected. There isn't time. I can carry him. The hell you can. It's against policy. You know that. I can do it, Wren. And I did. I hauled him up into a fireman's carry. The movement must have knocked something loose inside of him, because as I lifted, he vomited down my back, warm, sticky, clinging to my uniform. I didn't think about it. Oh, how I wish I had thought about it. I carried him to the ambulance while Wren rushed ahead to open the doors. Together we got him inside and onto the stretcher. I've got it from here, Wren said. Do what you do best. Drive. I threw myself into the driver's seat, flipped to the siren, and I drove. What happened next? I still don't understand. It feels like a dream, and if not for the scars on my back, I'd believe it never happened. Maybe I'd fallen asleep at the wheel and driven to the hospital on autopilot. But the scars are there, and I can still feel them burrowing deeper and deeper into me. Some nights I wake up, and I swear there's left of me left. The strangeness started with two things. I don't remember which happened first. One was the fog. As I turned from Mystic Avenue onto Main Street, a thick wall of it swallowed the road. Some drivers would slow down, but Mr. Peterson was in the back. He was dying, and I wasn't going to let some fog slow me down. The siren was on, and people would move. The other thing was the smell. It started faint, just a whisper of something acrid, like burned cloth. I thought maybe Wren hadn't cleared the paddles properly. Maybe something was scorching in the back. What's that smell? I called out. You mean his vomit? She shot back. No, it's like smoke. But she was distracted. Mr. Peterson, keep your eyes open. Look at me. I glanced at the rear view. His head was lolling. His skin had gone gray. I gritted my teeth and pushed faster through the fog, ready to take the turn onto Hospital Drive. But the turn wasn't there. I was counting the streets. After Mystic came Rock, Boulder, and then Sandstone. Hospital Drive should have been next, right before Gravel Street. 1, 2, 3, and then there it should be. But no, Gravel Street. I had missed it. Wren, I missed the turn. It's this damn fog. You missed the turn? It's because you're driving too fast. You always drive too fast, Seth. And maybe she was right. I slammed the ambulance into a U-turn, floored it for a second, then eased up. Gravel Street on the left. Hospital Drive should be next, but then Sandstone. It didn't make sense. The burning smell grew thicker, suffocating. I gripped the wheel tighter. The streets weren't just fogged over, they were wrong. The pavement blurred and shifted under the wheels of the ambulance. The headlights barely cut through the mist, and the signs were unreadable. And then Mr. Peterson moved. His body had been limp, but now his head snapped up, and in the mirror I saw him looking right at me. His pupils were gone, just black pits, and his mouth twisted into something that might have been a smile. The ambulance shuddered. The wheel jerked in my hands, yanking us toward a street that hadn't been there a second ago. The tire screamed, then the siren wailed, and underneath it I heard him whisper, "You shouldn't have carried me." My stomach dropped. "You let me inside." A horrible, wet, crackling sound came from the back. Wren was shouting. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. "You let me inside, and now I ride with you." The ambulance moved on its own. I was still gripping the wheel, but it didn't matter. I wasn't steering anymore. The engine roared. The speedometer climbed past anything safe, past anything even I would go at. The streets blurred past in streaks of gray and black. In the mirrors, the world behind me wasn't right. Buildings sagged inward. Street lights flickered and died. And then just ahead, hospital floodlights. The fog peeled away. The burning smell vanished. The world snapped back into place. I slammed the brakes. The ambulance lurched to a stop. Wren flung the back doors open, screaming for help, and orderlies rushed forward. But when they pulled the stretcher out, it was empty. There was no body. No Mr. Peterson. Just blackened straps burned clean through. And later, when I peeled off my uniform, I saw them, the scars. No, that's not right. Not scars. Not scratches, but words. Words seared into my back like letters pressed too long into fire. He rides with you. And now, every time I drive, I smell the burning. Every time I check the mirror, I see his smile. And worst of all, if I slow down, even for a second, I feel the scars burn deeper. It's like he's still carving his way into me. Like one day, there won't be anything left of me to burn. Statement ends. Yeah, I forgot to hit the go live button, so most of that was talking over my thing. And then, of course, as well, this was in the wrong position. But all things are fixed now. So that's how this all started. Milton found this statement online and he couldn't get it out of his head. He started investigating. And as he's investigated, he's been in 2 different car accidents. His leg is completely shattered. They were visited. He found Seth, and they were visited by an acolyte of the Lonely, who told them that Seth was an abomination because he is a body sharing 2 souls, and that Mr. Peterson had been trapped in the Peterson house on purpose, and he never should have escaped. Then the acolyte gave them a choice. Return Mr. Peterson back to the Peterson house, or the acolyte would kill Seth. After that, there was the first car accident. Milton ended up back in the hospital. The acolyte vanished somewhere. They weren't there when the EMTs got to the car. Milton broke his leg. Seth broke both of his legs. When he woke up, Milton went and took Seth, got him in a wheelchair, snuck him out of the hospital in an ambulance. The ambulance was driven by Wren, the very same Wren from this statement, who just now kind of wrapped into things. But on the way, Mr. Peterson took control of the ambulance as well and smashed it front first into the Peterson house. Wren was thrown through the windshield she was driving. Seth was thrown out the back of the ambulance and landed on the front yard outside. And Milton, mostly didn't die, but his leg, which was already broken, is now shattered and is going to be a lifelong injury. Milton found Seth, and Seth was dead, but Milton took him, dragged him inch by inch by inch in through the back of the ambulance, out into the cab of the ambulance, and then through the door into the house. He looked around. Wren wasn't there. And so he started looking around the house. He made his way to the bedroom, Mr. Peterson's bedroom. And we left off with him picking up an old style tape recorder. He collapses on the bed with the tape recorder in his hands. His leg is throbbing in agony. He hurts so much, but all he wants to do is lay down and quit, but he can't afford to do that. So instead, he hits play. And the tape recorder hisses with static for a second. And then a man's voice, steady but scratchy, fills the silence. January 3rd, 1995. She cries too much. I can hear her through the walls, even when she thinks I'm asleep. It's not the cries of a normal child. No, not my Ruthie. She sounds hollow, like a wind blowing through an abandoned house, like a fire sputtering, searching for something to consume. She still doesn't understand, but one day she will. March 27th, 1997. The first mark is always the hardest. She screamed. Of course she did. The iron was too hot. I overestimated how long it needed in the coals. Her skin split too fast, and the shape was imperfect. I had to do it again. She kicked and writhed, but I held her down, and I whispered to her, "Pain is a teacher. Pain is a gift. Pain is a door, and one day, Ruthie, one day you'll walk through it. You'll walk through and be free." She won't understand for years, but the first lesson, the first one, is always the hardest. September 14th, 2000. She doesn't cry anymore. Not when I brand her. Not when I carve the runes into her flesh and the smell of it fills the air. She watches the flames, her breath slow and controlled. I think she's beginning to feel it now. The hollow, the clearing away of everything that ties her to this world. She asked me, "Why do the others look at me like that?" And I told her, "It's because they're afraid. It's because they don't understand. But soon, Ruthie, you'll be something greater than them. You'll be something beyond pain." She didn't smile. I don't think she knows how to anymore. June 2nd, 2003. I caught her holding her own hand over a candle. The skin blistered, but she didn't pull away. Good. She's learning. She doesn't flinch when I come near. She only watches and waits. That's the thing about fire. It eats everything, eventually. Flesh, bone, and doubt. One day soon she will burn, and on that day she will not scream. October 21st, 2006. The runes are complete. Every inch of her has been reshaped. The fire inside her is almost ready. Tomorrow night I will take her to the basement. The house will go with her. And in that moment, the last ties that hold all of us to this world will burn away. She will be unmade, and the world will be remade in her smoke. There's a long pause. The tape crackles. When the voice returns, it's frantic and raw. "No. It's gone wrong. They took her. They took her. I lit the fire. I saw it catch. I saw her standing in the middle of the conflagration, her arms spread wide. She was welcoming it. And then the shadows, they stretched. The flames guttered. The air turned to ice, and she was there. Not Ruthie, the other one. She was a woman draped in something that wasn't fabric and wasn't skin, a nothingness shaped into human form. She reached her arm out for my daughter, her fingers stretching before her. and I saw the fire die in her eyes. I don't know what she did. She gestured, and ribbons of flesh unspooled from Ruthie's arms, from her back, from her face. The runes I spent years perfecting, burning into her skin night after night, completely destroyed in an instant. There was no blood, just empty space, just... And then they were both gone. Vanished. The tape is silent again for a long time. Finally, as Milton feels like that must be the end and there will be nothing left, the voice comes through one more time. I don't know what day it is. I can't leave. I've tried. The front door, the back, even the upstairs window. Every time I step out, I walk into fog. It's thick as wool, swallowing the world. I keep walking, keep pushing forward, but the ground stretches and warps under my feet, and then, somehow, I'm stepping back through the front door. The house won't let me go. And the fire meant for Ruthie, it's burning inside of me. I feel it in my chest, my gut, my skull. The fire crawls under my skin, curling in the hollows of my ribs, licking at the edges of my thoughts. It doesn't burn the way real fire does. There's no pain, no smoke, no blackened flesh, just heat, endless and hungry, following me out piece by piece. It should have been her. That was the deal. Ruthie was the price for a new world. But she's gone, and the fire has nowhere else to go. One day soon, there will be nothing left. No skin, no bones. Maybe not even a name, just heat and hunger. But even then, I still believe that I will remain. And then the static does spin out. Milton lays in Mr. Peterson's bed for 3 or 4 minutes, waiting, almost hoping that the tape will continue, because if the tape doesn't continue, that means that he has to push deeper into the house. But it is time. There is no more tape. Milton grabs his crutches, lunges to his feet as best he can, and he pushes through the house. I'm going to turn the volume on this down just a little bit. There we go. He searches the rest of this second floor. There is a bathroom, there's an office, there's a library. I think he wanders into the library, glancing around. And I'm going to have him make just like a investigation check here. Milton is not trained in investigation, and he's got 2 levels of stress. So it's normally a difficulty 4. This pushes it up to a difficulty 6. Do I want to push this roll? I think I do. 6. So he gets a roll. Inside the library, there is a painting, and the edges of the painting are charred, and there's scratches in it, like maybe there's like fingerprints burned into the painting surface. And Milton pulls it away. And he finds a safe behind the painting. The safe is locked. Is the safe a digital safe or is it an analog safe? I'm going to ask, is this safe an analog safe? And I think the answer is pretty likely because it was from quite a long time ago. So I think it's got a key. Yeah, it's definitely got a key. And so Milton tries to open it a little bit and then says, ugh, it needs a key. And he knows if he comes back here, he'll need that. He's going to continue poking around the house. He's going to use the meddling move. This is difficulty 4. Again, he's still at stress 2, so it's a difficulty 6. We are at horror mode 5. I just remembered that. I believe it's 5. Yep, horror level 5. And he's going to make another roll, and I am going to burn 3 more intellect. Running low on that, but we'll burn 3 more intellect to bring it down to a 5. 12. It's not good enough. I don't have any XP. What happens? The meddling move. There is a complication, either with the clue itself or a complication you encounter while searching. The keeper will tell you what the complication is. Okay, so I'm going to roll a D3 here. There are 3 other people in this house. I'm gonna hold on to that information a little bit, but 1D3. Ren. What is going on with Ren? Ren crashed through the front, through the windshield of the ambulance when it crashed into the house, and then she wasn't there again, but she's going to show up now. And you know what? I do know what's happening with her. I'm not even going to roll for this. Milton finds Ren in a girl's bedroom. There's a dusty, forgotten dollhouse in one corner of the bedroom. There's a couple of posters of, like, celebrities, but they all have their faces burnt out. There are candles, unlit candles, all over the place. And Ren is sitting on the bed, and she's got a candle lit on a bedside table, and she's holding her hand over the candle and staring at her hand as the bottom blisters, but she refuses to pull it away. And Milton rushes over. Ren! That was your name, right? Ren? What are you doing? And Ren looks up at him. It burns. I can feel it burning into me. It hurts, and yet it feels good. It feels so good. I want more. And Milton is going to try to... he throws the candle away, scattering it across the room. But I think there is a chance that... In fact, I'm just going to make it a GM intrusion. Milton, do you want a GM intrusion? Not really. Milton, do you have an XP to deny a GM refusion? No. Okay. So, you scatter the candle across the room. It lands It hits the curtains, and curtains go flaring up in fire. We're going to increase the horror mode to level 6. And the house is on fire. So, I don't know, we'll put like a 10-step clock up here, house on fire. And congratulations. Milton and Ren snaps out of it as the candle is thrown aside, and she blinks and she's like, "What?" And then they both look, and Ren's like, "Fire!" And Milton says, "I know, we have to put it out." And he's going to grab... I think he's just going to like try to grab the curtains and shake the fire out before it can go get worse. And I think this has the potential of making the fire worse, but it is the first thing he thinks to do. And this is going to be a speed check. It's a difficulty 4. He's got 2 levels of stress. It's a difficulty 6. We will spend some effort here to push it down. So it's a difficulty 5. And I think Ren is helping, so it comes down to a difficulty 4. They just barely manage to get the fire out before it catches. But the smell of the smoke is strong now. And Milton looks at Ren and says, "What were you doing?" And Ren blinks and says, I don't know what I was doing. We crashed, and then I don't know. I came up here, and then the candle was already lit, and I wanted to put my hand over... Ow! And she like shakes her hand as the pain kind of catches up to her for the first time. And Milton says, "Well, great. I'm glad you're okay. We should stick together." And Ren says, "Yeah, what about Seth?" And Milton says, "He's dead, Ren." And Ren looks at her, her eyes wide, and she starts crying. No, not Seth. No, not him. No, how? It's too soon. I don't want this. And Milton nods and says, "I know. But we have to figure out what to do, or I think we could die in this house too." And she sniffs and she says, "Can I at least see his body?" And Milton nods. "Of course. I want to search this room first, but then I'll take you down to him." And she says, "Okay." And they search the room, and they find a girl's diary. It is a diary that has a cover of like a birthday cake, I think. Maybe not even a birthday. I think like a unicorn. It's one of those I forgot her name. The old 90s like super colorful unicorn and dolphin art things. That's what the cover is. And Ren picks it up and flips through it, and she says it's not very long, but there's a few entries here. "I'll read them to you." And Milton nods, and Ren says, "Okay. This one is from March 3rd, 2008. It's written in crayon, and it says this girl was 7 years old. Here it goes. "Daddy says I'm special, not like other kids. He says I have a fire inside of me. Oh, you know what? I am going to put on some different music for this here. Let's fade this one out, and then let's play this one. March 3rd, 2008. Daddy says I'm special, not like other kids. He says I have a fire inside of me, and it has to be fed so that it grows big and strong. Today, he held my hand over a candle and told me that I have to be brave. And I was. It hurt. But Daddy kissed my fingers after, and he told me he was so proud of me, and he said the fire inside of me was proud too. I told Miss Carter at school, but she got mad and said daddies aren't supposed to do that. And I didn't like that. She doesn't understand. Daddy loves me, and the fire loves me, and I love both of them back so much. Ren flips a page and she says, this one's from July 9th, 2011. That means she was 10 years old here, and her handwriting's a lot better. I don't cry anymore when Daddy presses the brands into my skin. He says that's good. He says fire is supposed to burn away weakness, and I don't have much left now. I like looking at them in the mirror. They don't look like the scars I see on other people. They twist and curl in shapes that make my head feel funny when I stare at them for too long. I showed one to Alice at school, lifting up my shirt so she could see it on my tummy, and she looked scared and she ran away. I don't think I should show anyone anymore. Ren looks up and is like, Jesus Christ, no one called Child Protective Services or anything? And Milton shrugs and says, seems about right. This whole thing is messed up. And Ren nods and says, it keeps going. And Milton says, okay. Keep going then. And Ren says, okay, this one's from August 14th, 2013. She's 12 now. Some of the marks don't hurt anymore. The ones from the hot iron do. But the ones Daddy does with the black stone, they don't hurt. They just feel wrong. Like, they make my skin numb, but something underneath it is waking up. I don't think I like those ones. Last night, I dreamed about them. The runes were crawling over my skin, moving under it like they were alive. One of them opened up like an eye, and it looked at me. And the next day, when I told Daddy, he got real quiet and he just said, good. That means it's working. But what's working? What's happening to me? And Ren flips the page and there's only one more entry. And she says, last one, and this one has tear blotches on it. It's short, and oh God. What happened in this house? Milton says, read it to me, Ren. And Ren nods and says, okay. August 31st, 2013. Tonight is supposed to be the night. Daddy says the fire is ready. He says we'll go down into the basement together, and when it's over, the world will change. It will be bright and strong. It will be burnt and pure. And it will love me. And I want to make him proud. I want the fire to love me. I do, but I don't want to die. I don't want to die. And Ren closes the diary. And she starts to put the diary down. But then she looks at Milton and she says, I'm taking this with me. And Milton nods. He holds up the tape recorder that he still has from the Peterson house, from the bedroom. And he says, these two things tell a story, and it's not one I like. How could it be? But I think Mr. Peterson was preparing Ruthie for something, preparing her to change the world, like in a ritual or something. I don't know what he was trying to do, but I think it almost worked. I think someone else stepped in and stopped it. But I think it almost worked. And Ren says, I just feel bad for Ruthie, the poor girl. And Milton nods and says, I know, I do too. And he starts stumbling towards the door. And Ren, I think for the first time, notices just how hurt Milton is. And she gasps, your leg! And Milton shrugs and says, yeah, my leg, but there's nothing we can do about it now. You wanted to see Seth. If we're going to do that, then we should do that. And Ren nods, I do. Yeah, I want to see him. And so Milton leads the way. And they go back to the foyer. And when they get to the foyer where Milton dragged Seth's body, it isn't there. It's gone. Ren looks and says, I thought you said he was dead. And Milton says, he was dead. I know he was dead. And I'm going to give him a point of stress. He's at 9 stress. He's at 3 levels of stress. Ren looks outside and says, I don't know what's happening, but I can't be here anymore. I have to go. You might be part of this, but I'm not. And Milton, his only social skill is intimidation. So he's going to just like look at her and say, I think you became part of this the moment you stepped foot through the door. You were in her room. Your hand was over the candle. You were lost in the fire. So don't you dare pretend like you're not part of this now, Ren. Don't you dare. And this is an intimidation roll. it's 4. He's got 3 levels of stress, which means it's 7, and he can't do this without pushing the roll. He's down to 3 intellect. I do have some options. I can spend some effort. That would bring him down to 1 intellect. I could burn a level of stress to get another edge. That would bring it down to a 5, but it would allow for a free GM intrusion. He's going to do that. And we'll burn the intellect. So roll a 15 or higher. Wow, he is rolling really good today. That's the only thing that's even a little bit saving his life. His intimidation works. Ren looks at him with big eyes and she says, "But I don't want to be part of this." And Milton looks at her and says, "And you think I want to be part of this?" And she says, "I don't even know how you got involved. I was here that night, but I wasn't involved." And Milton says, "Well, you are now, and we have to figure it out, or we won't get out of this house at all." And she nods and she says, "Okay, but what do we do? What are we supposed to do here?" And Milton says, "I don't know. We're supposed to leave Mr. Peterson here, and he was inside Seth, and he's inside me, and I don't know how to get him out, but we have to get him out. Look, there is a safe in the library. We need to find a key. If we can find a key, then maybe that will be enough. Maybe there's something in the safe that will tell us what to do." And she nods and she says, "Okay. A key. Fine." I'm pushing the horror mode up to 7 for finding out that Seth is somewhere else in the house. So now any roll 7 or less will cause a GM intrusion. They are going to look around looking for a key. Again, this is a meddling move. It's a difficulty 4, 5, 6. I really don't have... Okay, let's do a recovery roll. I've got a 1-action recovery roll here. Can I not roll? I see. Okay. I rolled a 1 for my recovery roll. We're going to boost our intellect back up to 3 with that amazing 2 points of recovery. I do have some 10 minutes and some 1 hour, and so there are some options still. For now, I'm immediately going to push back down to 1 intellect. So we're at 4. It goes to 6 because of the stress. It comes down from the effort, which is 5, and then it comes down with Ren's help, which is 4. So 12 or higher. A 5, and that activates horror mode. So this fails. I get a free GM intrusion. And I think we find they have stumbled. Milton has dragged his shattered leg through, and Ren has led the way to Mr. Peterson's office. And I'm going to roll a D2. It's a 1. That's when Seth comes stumbling around the corner. He is walking on shattered legs, on broken legs, but they don't seem to be slowing him down. His eyes are black pits, and smoke is rising off of his shoulders and his head. And inside the black pits of his eyes, we can see almost embers burning in the darkness. And he comes around the corner and he says, "I'm home. I wanted to get out, but I'm home. And now you two can be home with me." And this is a monster, and I think it's a level... Ooh, I don't know. Let's use stats for Occultist of the Lightless Flame for this. I don't think that's exactly right, but I'm gonna do it here. We're gonna roll initiative, which is the first time I've done this here. Milton is going to roll a speed check, and he gets an 11. Which beats a 9, which is difficulty 3. So, this could be the end for Milton right here. Milton goes first. Seth is stalking towards him down the hallway on his broken legs without caring about anything. And Ren turns around and is like, "Seth, you're alive!" And Milton says, "I don't think that's Seth anymore." And she says, "What are you talking about?" And he says, I think that's Mr. Peterson." And Seth grins and says, "Yes. The boy is no longer here. It's just me. I have taken him, just as I'm going to take you." And Milton says, "Like hell you will. Take this." And he's got his crutches. He's going to use a crutch to lash out at the cultist. This is not going to go well for him. This is a might check. It's difficulty 3. +2 because of stress. So 5. I think the crutch is a medium weapon. Let's add crutch here. He's definitely not practiced. This is like an improvised weapon. I'm going to give him an inability with this. It does do 4 points of damage because it's a medium weapon. And I think that's all we need. So, the difficulty is 5. This isn't going to work. He lashes out. We'll spend some effort. That puts him down to 1 might. So it's a difficulty 4. A 3. That activates horror mode. Milton attempts to smash his crutch into Seth/Mr. Peterson's head, and Seth just reaches up and takes the crutch in one hand, and then the crutch lights up in fire and deals 2 points of stress. That's just the intrusion. That's not even Seth slash Mr. Peterson's turn. On Seth slash Mr. Peterson's turn, he's going to just attack. Seth needs to make a speed check. Difficulty 3, 4, 5 from stress, 6 from the broken leg, so he needs an 18 or higher. We'll spend effort on this. That brings him down to 3 speed. Roll it. Did we say 5 or higher or 4? Let me read. 3, 4, 5, 6 from the leg. Minus 1 is 5. It's a 13. I'm going to spend the XP to re-roll it. Nothing. Okay. Seth slash Mr. Peterson looks at him and says, I'm already inside you. Can't you feel me? Here, let me help. And he reaches a hand out, and Seth's back erupts in flame as the words sear into his skin. He goes from impaired to debilitated. And he looks up at Ren and says, Ren, you have to get away. You have to get away. And Ren looks at him and is like, I thought you said I was involved. And Milton says, I know, but you have to try. You have to get out. And he's going to take his turn. And the last thing he can do... I'm just going to... Here. He's slumped up against Mr. Peterson's desk, and the last thing he's going to try to do, he doesn't have the strength to fight. He knows what's coming, but maybe if he can find the key, he can give it to Ren. And I'm just going to let him, spend a player intrusion, which I don't exactly know how to do that, actually. I think you have to spend an XP, and I don't have an XP, so it's fine. He sees that there is a key tied to the top, taped to the bottom of the desk, and the only reason he happens to find it is that he's on his back looking up, and he reaches out and says, Ren, the key, take it, and he tosses it to Ren. That's his turn, and then Seth slash Mr. Peterson says, and now you're mine. And reaches out, and the fire consumes Milton. And it burns him until nothing of Milton Marks is left at all. And it's only another vessel for the burning spirit of Mr. Peterson. Ren has the key. I don't have a character sheet for Ren. Maybe we'll do that right now. Create actor. Ren. What is her last name, do you think? Delaney? Delest. Del. Easterdell. Ren. Easterdell. And let's go look at, like, we're just gonna build her as a character here. Let's give her a type first. I think she's a protector. She was a EMT. She is an EMT, so she's a protector. That's a starting value of 10 might, 10 speed, and 8 intellect. And then let's give her... Okay, actually, let's do this here. Her effort is 1. She's got a might edge of 1 and a speed edge of 1. She can have 2 ciphers at a time. Protective abilities. Your physical person, no stranger to a fight. Choose 2 of the abilities below. Combat prowess, other knowledge, Overwatch, physical skills. I'm going to give her physical skills. And I'm going to give her other knowledge. I'm not going to give her combat things because she's an EMT. She's not a fighter. She has no background in her fighting. Other knowledge, you aren't just a brute. You have other areas of interest as well. You are trained in 1 non-physical skill of your choice in which you don't already have training. So I'm going to leave that because she might get something from her descriptor. Physical skills, you are trained in endurance or gymnastics. I'm going to give her trained in endurance. And this is almost always based off of her might. Close. Okay. Let's go look at descriptors. I'm not even sure. I've got bold, brave, caring, cautious, cheerful, cynical, enigmatic, fastidious, fearless, ferocious, hopeful, likable, muscular, obsessive, pretentious, quick, smart, sturdy, superstitious. I like the idea caring. I actually like the idea that she's caring. I think that fits into... So she's a caring protector. Caring gives her helpful, which adds +2 to her intellect pool, so her pools are 10 down the line. Skill, she's trained in healing. That fits perfectly. That's almost always going to be an intellect thing. Suggested second skill, persuasion or psychology. I think she's got persuasion because, you know, she has to be able to talk down patients and things like that, calm them down. That's going to be based off of intellect. You're a little too much of a people person to dissemble well. You have an inability in deception. I like that for her. Deception. Oh my gosh, I cannot type. Deception is an inability. Okay, so she's a caring protector, and she... Let's look at her focus. I mean, helps her friends is one focus. Explores dark places, learns quickly, never says die, runs away, solves mysteries. I almost like never says die just for the name of it, because like she never lets her patients die, which is not exactly what this foci is trying to do, but I think it fits for her. Like, when others are ready to quit, you're just getting started thanks to your resilience, tenacity, and relentless determination. Yeah, caring protector who never says die. This gives her improved recovery. Your 10-minute recovery roll takes only one action instead. Improved recovery. I'm never going to remember this in play, so I'll have to like do my best. Oops. And she has push on through. Which lets her ignore the effects of terrain while moving for 1 hour. And I'm going to be pretty lenient with what I call terrain. I think that, like, she can push through, like, a broken leg or things like that, too. She has other knowledge, which lets her have training in a non-physical thing. What does she do? Like, let's get a description roll here. See, miserable. I don't like that. Old. No. Like, let's maybe some actions. Proceed. Intellect. She likes to play chess. I'm gonna call it logic games. Chess, other strategy games. I'm gonna call it strategy games, not logic games. Okay. Choose a file. No. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. We're about ready to go forward with her. I need to use the restroom very badly, so I am going to take a quick break here. Hit be right back, and we're gonna hit that button, and we're gonna hit that one, and I will be right back. Okay. We are back. We have got a new character, Ren Easterdell. Okay, I'm gonna give her a cipher. Actually, let's give her 2 ciphers. Characters get to start with a couple of ciphers. Is this updated with... I don't know where... I'm not sure that this is updated with the Magnus archive ciphers because I think they might be... not part of the SRD because of Magnus archives. So we're just gonna roll 2 D100. Let's roll 1 D100 first. Equipment. A 14 is curiosity. That is a level 1d6 plus 2. And it adds 1 to your intellect edge for an hour. That could be very, very useful for her here. And it is a level 4 cipher. The next roll is a 78, which is a stare into the vast, which is going to be PQR, stare into the vast. That is also a 1d6 plus 2. Stilling your thoughts, you regain a number of points equal to this cipher's level to your intellect pool. Okay. And now we have to think about what Ren's goals are here. Milton was here to get Mr. Peterson out of him. But Ren is not possessed. Is she? She might be possessed by Ruthie. And that could be interesting. Is Ren possessed by Ruthie? I think we're unsure. I think we're just gonna go... Oh. Our chaos rank is absolutely a 6. We just had someone die. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and ask this question. No. So Ren is not possessed by anyone. She snatches the key out of the air as Milton throws it to her, and then she races out of the office and down the hallway, trying to put as much distance between herself and the screaming, dying body of Milton, who is being burnt by someone who used to be her friend and coworker, but is obviously not that anymore. Can Ren just leave the house? I'm gonna ask Fate. Can Ren leave the house? I'm gonna make this unsure again. She can just leave the house. She snatches the key out of the air. But the last thing Milton said to her was, "You have to get out." Oops, I did not mean to move that. Get out. I thought I was involved in this. I thought you were too, but you have to try. You have to get out. And so... Sorry, I'm just fixing. Okay. So... I think she's going to try to get out. And I think I'm going to give her a GM intrusion right away. And she doesn't have an XP to resist. So, hey Ren, do you want a GM intrusion? Yeah, of course I do. And my GM intrusion is that she rounds the corner to get out. And there is a body of smoke and ash and embers. It's almost more smoke than substance. But it laughs at her. Ha 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 ha. I remember you. You helped me get out. Take me with you. Let me ride you into the world. And she looks at him and she says, I'd rather die than let that happen. Well, we can arrange that if we need to. But I think taking you for a ride would be better. And the thing is going to rush towards her. It's almost like smoke streaming towards her, and she needs to make an speed defense roll of 4 in order to avoid being touched by this creature. We are still at horror mode, and actually someone just died. So we are at horror mode 6 now. 7. We're at horror mode 8 now. She is going to make a speed check. Difficulty 4 in order to escape being touched by this smoking form. She gets a 17. She avoids Mr. Peterson's touch. Manages to get on the other side of him. And we're going to roll initiative. She needs to beat a 12 to go first, and she does not. So he goes first. He's going to lash back out at her, making another speed check. Difficulty 4 is 12. She beats it. She still manages to keep distance between them, and then she pulls out the diary, and she says, I know who you are! I read this! I know what you did to Ruthie! And the figure screams, How dare you say her name to me! And she looks at the figure and says, She hated you, you know. She loved the fire. But in the end, she hated you. And he screams, No! My Ruthie loved me! And Ren is going to make a persuasion check here to basically convince Mr. Peterson of her words. With a nat 20. She holds the journal out in front of her. And I think the journal itself begins to burn, but the flames don't touch the page and it doesn't hurt Ren to hold it. She stalks towards Mr. Peterson's ash and smoke form. And she says, She hated you, and now you are here, and the fire that was meant for her is eating you, and you deserve it. It will always burn you, and you will never get out. And that's when I'm going to give her another GM intrusion. Ren, do you want a GM intrusion? Yeah, of course I do. Okay. The GM intrusion is that Seth and Milton now turn around the corners. The physical shells of the spirit in front of you. He is puppeting all of them. And what do you do? And Ren looks at them. And she looks at Seth and she says, "You were my best friend. I'm going to miss you." And then she turns around and she's going to try to jump into the ambulance and get her way out of the house. This is a speed check 4. She needs to get a 12. We're going to burn 2 speed, so it's a speed check 3. She needs a 9. That's really not that hard. A 15. She gets into the ambulance and scatters out the back. And in the yard, there's a woman. She is dressed in like a tattered white nightgown, and she has a hood, but it's hard to make out her physical form because it feels like it's hidden in fog or mist. There's features under the fog and under the mist, but Ren can't make them out. And as she jumps out the back of the ambulance, she pulls to a stop and she looks at the woman and says, "What? Who are you?" And the woman looks at her and says, "Is he inside of you?" And Ren says, "What? You mean Mr. Peterson? No, he's not." And the woman looks at her and she's going to make an intellect roll here of, I think, probably 7. And I think she's just going to fail it. As the woman looks at her and almost takes her in with her eyes, unraveling her body, and Ren feels the strips of flesh that this woman could unwind if she wanted to, by simply thinking about it. But then the woman nods, and she says, "Okay, he's not in you. You should go, and don't ever come back. Mr. Peterson is back in the house, and I am here to make sure he doesn't leave again." And Ren is like, "What the fuck? Okay, I am out of here." And this is where she leaves. Ren runs away, and behind her we see a wall of fog erupting around the Peterson house, flowing out of the windows and spiraling down from the sky. The fog wraps itself around the house so thick that you can't see anything inside of it. And then the fog drifts away in the wind, and as the last of it clears, we can see that the Peterson house is nothing more than rubble and a burnt down lot. And Ren looks around, and she stops and her mouth drops open. And she says, "What the fuck?" Because the house is gone. But maybe the house is still there? Ren could maybe find her way back to the house if the conditions were right. I think she senses this. She's been in the house before. And she looks down, and she's still holding Ruthie's diary in her hands. And the last image of this game we get is her turning around. She's battered and bruised. Her face is cut up from smashing through the windshield. But she's alive. And her friend and that weird stranger are not. And she's gonna go home and try to put this all behind her. But she knows she'll never be able to put this all together behind her. And we see her getting back to her apartment. We see Ren crawling into bed. And she opens a drawer in her bedside table. And she slips Ruthie's diary into the bedside table. She looks at the diary and she says, "I didn't know you, but I will never forget you. Good night." And she turns off the lamp, and it's dark. And that's the last thing there is to say. Good night. The end.